Hello, good evening and welcome to Business Live. Here's what's coming up. Ghana secures $6.5 billion in revenue since commercial oil production from April 2011. We will tell you how the funds have been disbursed so far. Also, until further notice, weddings, concerts and parties have been banned. That's the latest COVID-19 directive from the president. But how do event vendors welcome this news? We'll engage them shortly in the course of the program. Plus, we are a month into the implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. Who are the winners? Who are the losers? Plus, how do we minimize the risks of the single market? Stay with us for a discussion with the AGI as well as a UK-based trade expert on their views on this moving forward. Hello once again, I'm Charles Aite. We have more coming up after this break. Hello and welcome. The country has secured $6.5 billion in revenue since it started commercial production of crude oil in April 2011. Now, this was contained in the 2020 Annual Petroleum Holding Fund report, of which George Rafi has more in this detail.
The report revealed that these were earnings, so let's say what the country got in terms of Ghana's share of crude exported since April 2011. They were also realized from taxes that were paid to the state by all the companies operating on the country's oil fields. It also revealed that since December 2019 to 2020, our earnings have just gone up by $700 million to hit $6.5 billion. And the $6.5 billion is coming from revenue realized from 5.4 billion barrels of crude that were lifted and exported during this period. Based on the report, all the foreign oil firms since April 2011 have paid about $1.2 billion to the state in the form of taxes and rental charges. So how has these funds been used or disbursed during this period? Well, according to the report, $2 billion has gone to the Ghana National Petroleum Authority to finance its operations. Also, $2.5 billion has been advanced to government to finance some projects that were identified in the budget over the years. $582 million was put into the Ghana Heritage Fund, that is a fund that is supposed to be set aside for future generations, whilst the Ghana Stabilization Fund had about $1.3 billion, totaling $1.9 billion for these funds that were set aside. However, due to some deductions that have been made, it is now left with $844 million. However, some have raised concerns about the returns being made on these funds, even though it's argued that their nature of investments are strictly guided by the country's laws.
Now, some oil marketing companies have adjusted prices of petroleum products marginally beginning today. Now, this follows about 5% increase in the price of Brent crude in the last 2 weeks. Though the cedi had remained relatively stable against the dollar, however, the Institute of Energy Securities believes that other companies may decide to maintain prices from the previous pricing window to increase their market share. Moses Fritz is a research analyst at the IES.
For the commodities, that is petrol and diesel in the international markets, that's S&P Global Platts platform, we are seeing that they have all appreciated in prices. For example, petrol has seen an appreciation of about 7.47%, trading currently at 502.50 per metric ton from the previous 467.53 per metric ton. Now, for diesel also on the international market, it is being sold currently at 454.00 per metric ton on the international level from the previous $41.31 per metric ton. Now, these increments we believe that will affect local fuel prices at the various pumps.
Well, Fritz Moses is a research analyst at the Institute of Energy Securities. Meanwhile, the current national average price of fuel per litre at the pump is pegged at 4 cedis 97 pesos. Well, government will run a tight budget for this year in order to reduce the pressures on the economy as a result of COVID-19. That's according to a Data Bank Research 2020 review and the 2021 Outlook report. Charles Nixon looks at the report and brings us more.
Would deprive spending to critical sectors of the economy, such as schools, hospitals, and infrastructure. Secondly, institutions or contractors that get big businesses from government might have to rewrite their notes, but it is a necessary evil because of the rising debt and expenditure, which, if not checked, could throw away gains chalked by the economy. Data Bank research said fiscal consolidation is inevitable this year as the public debt ratio has crossed the maximum early warning sustainability threshold of 70%. It's therefore forecasting a compression in the overall budget deficit to between 8.10 and 9.10% this year. Coronavirus shocks undermined commitment to financial discipline last year. Prior to COVID-19 pandemic, the key risk to Ghana's 2020 fiscal operations was the expenditure leading up to the December general elections. This was evident in the original 2020 fiscal deficit target of 18.9 billion cedis, below the 5% limit imposed by the Financial Responsibility Act. However, the fiscal cost of the COVID-19 pandemic imposed an extra financing gap of 25.3 billion cedis. This comprised of revenue shortfalls of 13.4 billion cedis and additional spending of 11.8 billion cedis.
Now, who are the winners and losers of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement? This is a question many investors home and abroad are asking. It's been a month since the Single Trade Pact started, and these have been the major achievements, as you can see on your screen shortly. First of all has been the finalization of some of the protocols. The second being the operationalization of the bill, which has seen all member states signing on to this particular pact have to begin the process of the Continental Free Trade Agreement area. The third is the live trade activity of some Ghanaian industries as Casapreco at the various ports. We did see and hear from Casapreco authorities saying that they had to import these things without having to pay quotas. You can see on your screens once again the activity of the Continental Free Trade Agreement in the first month of January. 3 major events happening so far. But we are joined by Adwoa Ejechum. She's the founder and CEO of EBII Group. Also, do we have Sechuma Kwabwa, the Chief Executive of the Association of Ghana Industries. We're grateful that you joined us, ladies and gentlemen. I want to start off with you, Adwoa. Of course, the elimination of tariffs under the single market will necessarily reduce Africa's government fiscal resources. We do know, Adwoa, that all other things being equal, this means that there will be diminished public funds available for trade adjustment assistance. UNCTAD has estimated that this reduction will be more than $4 billion annually continent-wide. The question to you, Adwoa, is that how can member states strike a balance to offset the risks?
Thank you very much. Thank you. So first of all, I would say I'm not entirely sure how these figures came about, because if you look at the figures that have been produced, according to the World Bank, there will be 100 million people will be lifted out of poverty by 2035 if this AFCFTA is implemented successfully. And also, according to the AFCFTA themselves, they projected $450 billion gains from the free trade, with the free trade area going ahead as well. And then also, $292 billion will come from greater trade facilitation. So what what I want to say is that regardless of how much is going to be lost, you can clearly see that the gains far more outweighs the loss. Another thing I will focus on also is in terms of addressing any revenues lost at all, if that's significant to most people. It would be for the governments, the different governments across the African continent, designing programs that will increase the readiness of their workforce to take advantage of the opportunities that the African Continental Free Trade Area present. And that would mean providing training on skill set, as well as the need to prioritize industrialization, which that will ensure that they maximize the benefits that is presented within the free trade area. So that's all I would say for that question. Thank you.
Great, but we do know, Adwoa, that the single African market agreement is coming on board not just to cover the larger industries or manufacturing giants, but as well that of low-skill industries. And it begs the question, how best can they explore financing options in order for them to scale up and compete?
Yeah, that's a great question. You're right. The SME market, so the small to medium-sized market, do make up about 80% of businesses across the African continent. And then they also employ not less than 70% of the continent's workforce. So it is very critical that for the FCFTA to be successful, of course, the SME market need access to relevant financing. There are several ways that this could be done. I know that currently the African Development Bank, they do have a program that is supporting African local financial institutions with long-term liquidity and also technical assistance. And that's to support them in terms of providing the relevant funding that is required for the small to medium-sized businesses. Also, another thing would be for formalizing a lot of these small to medium-sized companies. The majority of them operate within the informal economy, and that then makes it very difficult for them to have any access to funding. Currently, the figure stands around 66% of total employment is within the sub-Saharan Africa from the SME market, as well as 52% in North Africa. So once we formalize most of these SME companies, then it makes it easier for them to have access to some funding from a lot of these relevant institutions. The third point that I'll make is also support in terms of risk management. So I sit in the UK, and from what I do, a lot of the investors, not just within UK, but also within the African continent, finds it very difficult to invest or put funding within the SME because the risk so they are not comfortable in terms of how the risk could be managed. One of the reasons is being that the SME markets are not very much aware or educated as much or have sufficient information in terms of how to manage their risk or even have a global mindset when they start a business in order to be presented well to these investors so that they can get comfortable in terms of putting their money into their businesses. So those are the three areas that I will point out. First of all, the risk management is one thing, educating them about the risk management. Secondly, the African Development Bank initiative, which is already underway. And then thirdly, also making sure the fact that both the local institutions and the foreign institutions all have a role to play in supporting these SME getting the right level of funding. Thank you.
Great submission there, Joe. We're so grateful that you joined us. But we also do have the Chief Executive of the Association of Ghana Industries, Sechuma Kwaba. Mr. Kwaba, we're grateful once again that you could make it for this particular interaction. First of all, you have been at the forefront, the AGI, championing the rights and even the capabilities of various industries, whatnot, following the onset of AFTA. Now we are a month into the entire single African market agreement. What has been your assessment so far?
Well, thank you very much. I think so far our assessment is that it has been good. The few companies that have experimented it, that have tried it, they've gone through smoothly. There were no hitches, and therefore we think that the countries are compliant. And therefore, we are comfortable with what is going on. We also noticed that when it comes to the customs procedure and all that, the ICAM has actually been integrated into the GRA export and import procedure for the AFTA. And therefore, as far as procedure for going through exporting is concerned, I think everything has been ironed, and so far, it is looking positive.
But what have industries been telling you? We do know of Casa Preco, as you rightly stated, they had a smooth time at the ports under the AFTA. What have other industries been telling you regarding the smoothness of the single market agreement?
We are still monitoring those who are exporting. Not many have successfully gone through yet, so we don't have too many cases to cite. But in the case of Casa Preco and then Gandor Cosmetics that tried the first one, they went through smoothly. We are gathering information from the rest of our members, both in the SME category and in the large scale companies who are doing regular exporting and taking advantage of the market opportunity to see whether they are having any challenges along the line. So far, we've not had any information to the negative, and therefore we assume that it is going on smoothly. But we need to be monitoring as we go along.
Let's end up on this note. Ajwa, extensively spoke about how to minimize risks. From your purview as the Association of Ghana Industries, what message do you have for low-skilled industries on how best they can compete and minimize their risks?
Thank you.
I think when it comes to risk minimization, it comes in different forms, both at the enterprise level, at the institutional level, at the government level, and at the CFTA level. At the enterprise level, as an individual enterprise, your strategy should be to be able to increase your capacity so that you can actually export. If you don't do that, your market, even your local market, will be taken away.
Sure.
If you don't have a number of companies that have been prepared and their capacity enhanced to be able to export to other markets, your own market will be taken away. Government will lose revenue and so on and so forth. So I think that when it comes to strategy to minimize risk, first of all, we should develop the capacity of the enterprises.
All right.
Let them produce scale, larger scale enterprise, so that they can actually enjoy the economies of scale. We also need to enhance our export capacity by way of strategizing to enter the export market within the West African and the African market as a whole. If we sit down and then we try to do business as usual and we don't harness those markets, our market will be taken away and we will not take advantage of the other markets. The other factor, which I think is very important, and it's something that AGI continuously hammers, is the business environment. The name of the game is about competitiveness. If you don't have a conducive business environment that enables you to produce at the minimal cost, then it means that your cost of production is high, the price of your product will be high, and therefore you become uncompetitive, both within your market and the export market. In the export market, or in every market, two factors are always considered. The price of two key factors, and these factors are highly dependent on the business environment.
Okay.
So we need to improve the business environment, improve the cost of production, so that you are competitive.
All right. Okay, Mr. Kwaba, we're so grateful that you joined us, and as well, the founder of EBIR Group. We're grateful for your analysis on this. But moving forward, the board of UMB has appointed astute banker Nana Jumo Bene as the new managing director of the bank. Now, this follows his approval by the Bank of Ghana. Mr. Bene, until his appointment, was executive director of personal and business banking at Stanbic Bank Ghana. He's taken over from Benjamin Amunume, whose 5-year service has come to an end. Mr. Bennett has been given details on how he plans growing the bank in the face of COVID-19.
So the franchise that I've been privileged to come and lead has a long history and heritage of a lot of innovative solutions that have actually helped develop the economy. So if you go into UMB's 49-year history, you will see that there were a number of landmark solutions and partnerships that help to develop aspects of the financial sector in the country and also help to develop business in the country. UMB is an indigenous bank. It's a Ghanaian bank, proudly Ghanaian, focused at making Ghanaian businesses thrive and offering solutions and services to individuals in Ghana. And so during this tenure, I would hope that together with the team, we will be much more supportive to particularly our SME clientele, offering them innovative ways of doing modern banking, and that we will be accessible to individual customers, offering them retail products and services, also in the digital sphere. And we will continue to play in a corporate space. So at the end of my tenure, I hope that the Universal in the Universal Merchant Bank will be widely known and loved by all our clientele, and we'll be able to attract even more clients to us.
Well, meanwhile, ABSA Group has appointed lawyer and astute banker Madame Frances Edumante as the board chair of ABSA Bank Ghana. This was after the bank secured the necessary regulatory approval for her appointment. She takes over from Charles Kofi, who completed his tenure as board chairman in December last year. Madame Edumante has been on the board of ABSA Ghana since September 2017. She has over 42 years of experience in banking and law in the country. Also, she has previously served in various senior roles at EcoBank Group for almost 25 years. We wish her all the best in her endeavor. Well, still on the banking industry, appointment in the banking and finance space, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, has been reappointed as Governor of the Central Bank. We shall be following this keenly, especially when under his previous tenure we saw aggressive reforms that transformed Ghana's banking industry. We shall get to know his focus in the next term as he gets reappointed by the President. You're still watching Business Live. Of course, we shall be bringing you an exclusive interaction as President Akufo-Addo has banned weddings, concerts and parties until further notice. In his 23rd address to the nation on measures the government is taking to curb the spread of the novel coronavirus, he said that private burials should not exceed 25 people. He also said the situation in the country is getting dire as daily infection rates moved from 200 to 700 cases. Listen in.
We should all understand that our current situation could get very dire if efforts are not made, both on the part of government and by you, the citizenry, to help contain the virus. The analysis continues to tell us that the spread of the virus mostly occurs in indoor confined spaces with poor ventilation, where people are talking, singing, or shouting without their masks. The imposition of restrictions on our daily routines helped in reducing the prevalence of the pandemic in the country. And government has been left with no option but to reintroduce some of these restrictions in order to help save the situation. I know these measures in the recent past were unpleasant, but over a period, they resulted in a favorable situation for the country. We have to return to them. So, fellow Ghanaians, until further notice, funerals, weddings, concerts, theatrical performances, and parties are banned. Private burials with no more than 25 people can take place, with the enforcement of the social distancing, hygiene, and mask-wearing protocols. Beaches, nightclubs, cinemas, and pubs continue to be shut. Our borders by land and sea remain closed. All workplaces, public and private, must employ a shift system for workers, in addition to the use of virtual platforms for business or work.
Well, we just heard the president there who suspended indefinitely events that command mass gatherings such as weddings, concerts and parties. But does this sit well with Event Vendors Association of Ghana? I'm joined by the president, Kate Hassan. Kate, you heard the president there, but you hold your own reservations.
Yes, I did. And from his last announcement 2 weeks ago, I knew it will come to that, but we didn't expect it to that level of total ban of events. We were thinking maybe numbers will be worked with and more restrictions will be given to us. But we had yesterday a total ban, which left us dumbfounded because we have events in the pipeline, and we know with the kind of event that we do, it's a chain. I mean, it's a value chain. It goes through a lot of process before an event is held.
How much are you losing out of this?
Millions. Imagine the kind of event that goes on. You know, we event A to Z, Monday back to back. There's always event, be it social, be it corporate. Event goes on, and this is, I mean, it has really hit us hard more than even last year because we least expected.
You know, last year we had interactions with some of the members and they have laid off workers, they've closed down their shops. Is there going to be a replay of this? Exactly.
We even started today because clients are calling us for refund and the whole thing is too it's hot for us, so we don't know what to do.
Okay, don't you feel that most of our members are shooting themselves in the foot because you visit event centers and most people are just not adhering to COVID-19 protocol?
You know, as event people, we tried our best. We are working with a lot of people, and to even go around, put your mask on, it wasn't easy. And as the association, we wrote a proposal to the ministries that they took some of the proposal and it was read by the president as protocols. So we told the GCA that we want to partner with them because we are on the field, we know our people, so that we can regulate the event that goes on, so that all the safety protocols will be adhered to. But we didn't get anything out of that, and it was like, we have the association, but we are a lot.
So now that this directive has come to force, what's going to be your next plan?
The next plan is we don't want any casualties, and what is already going on is too much. People are dying, and we are of great concern to that. But what we are pleading with is the government should look into it, because, I mean, breaths are taken from people's mouth and livelihood has come to a halt, and it's so disturbing to us. So if they can do something about it to regularize it for us to be able to start work.
Kate, let's just rope this one in shortly. Initially, you stated that most of your members were not beneficiaries of the stimulus package. What has been the update so far?
We've not gotten anything. We didn't get anything. Not that I know. None of my members got anything out of the stimulus.
We shall advance this conversation, Kate.
Sure,
Trust me on that. But we're so grateful that you joined us. She's with the Event Planners Association there. Well, you're still watching Business Live here with me, Charles Aitim, and we're so grateful that you joined us in this edition. For more news, do log on to myjoyonline.com. Have a good evening.